Hello, ladies and gentlemen, loons, quines, and everybody else that's listening. My name is Pauline, and I am a storyteller from Aberdeen. Now, I've just realised that I'm going to be out working tonight. I'm going to be out telling stories, and so I won't be there for the guising, so I thought I'd record you all a wee story. And this is a story that I learned from the wonderful John Rowe. I've just pinched it from him, I hope he doesn't mind. John tells stories every year at the kids' field at Glastonbury, and that's where I first heard this story. Now, this story is about the area of Kaimhill. And although there's the school there now, it used to be a farm many, many years ago. Maybe I'll stick a photo up of the old map on my Facebook and on Twitter so you can see what it used to look like. And that farm was owned by an old lady and an old man who had two sons. The older son, well, he was not a nice character. The younger son, he was cheery and happy-go-lucky as well. But when the old lady and the old man died, they made the mistake of leaving the farm to the older son, telling him that he had to look after his younger brother. Well, he kind of looked after his younger brother. Nae much. He kept all the farm and all the riches for himself and the big farmhouse, which is where the school is now. But his younger brother, he just got this horrible wee hovel to live in. It was nothing more than a couple of stone walls with some thatched roof, and in the winter the rain used to come in through the roof into a bucket, and in summer when it rained the mud would come and wash under his door. And it wasn't even on a nice bit of farmland. You see, in every bit of farmland there's always a horrible boggy bit called, in Scots, is a good word for you, the scrogs. There you go, you can all go into school on Monday and write a story and put the word scrogs in it, and Mrs. Webster and Mrs. Ruff will be really impressed, I'm sure. So that was the land that he had. And you know what? The older brother, he didn't give him anything else. The younger brother, well, it just seemed that he was cursed with bad luck. Not only had his only older brother not done what the parents said in the will, but he'd got this horrible place to live in, and it just seemed that every single thing that he did came to bad luck. If he went out and planted some crops, well, they would die. If he went and got himself a cow, managed to get some money and get a cow, well, that cow, there would be no milk coming for that cow. If he went out to do a job for someone, maybe fixing a fence, he would hit himself on the thumb, or maybe even twist his ankle on the way there. And he was extremely poor. He was very, very poor. And he would have to sometimes go and knock on his older brother's door and ask, please, can I have a few scraps of bread? There was one bit of good luck in the younger brother's life, though, because he had found a wonderful girl and they'd got married and they had 2 wee children. Now, it was Halloween. And this story takes many, many years ago. This story takes place a long, long, long time ago, when there was no electric lights, there was no electricity, there were no motor cars, everything was horse and cart. And the younger brother was looking forward to Halloween with his children and his wife, but he hadn't managed to get any work for the whole week before. Oh, aye, he'd had offers of jobs, but the bad luck had followed him and it had all fallen through. And so it was the night before Halloween, and his children were hungry, and his wife was hungry, and he was hungry. And his wife said to him, you know what you've got to do? You've got to go and beg for something from your brother. So that evening, it was dark outside already. It was about 7 o'clock at night, and he trudged along the dirt track to his brother's house, all the way from his little hovel, along this dirt track, which was full of puddles, and well, did he not step in the puddles? It was just his bad luck, right up to his knees, all covered in mud. Eventually he got to his brother's house, where there was a bit of a party going on. And he knocked on the door, and the brother came and answered the door and said, well, what are you doing here? You're right here scrounging for me. You never do a bit of hard work in your life, so you're not getting nothing. Oh, but I do hard work, but I'm just cursed with this terrible bad luck, and my wife and the bairns, they're awful hungry, their stomachs are empty. Can you not give me something, please? I'm your brother. Go well round the back, go and stand at the kitchen door, and maybe when we're finished with party, I'll come and gie you some scraps. So the younger brother went and stood at the back door, and he waited and he waited and he waited in the dark. And hours passed, and it must have been almost midnight when the older brother finally came out and he said, well, party's finished. You can have what's left over. And he threw him a crust of bread. That was it. One crust of bread, and he was sent away from the door. Well, he was walking back home. The moon was up. And he was walking along that dirt track, trying to avoid the puddles, because as luck would have it, his bad luck, there was a hole in his boot. And in the distance, he could hear the church bells in Aberdeen ringing midnight. And as the 12th ring went through the air, he tripped and he fell flat in a puddle, and he was covered in dubs. He was covered in mud from his head to his feet. And then he started to hear this noise behind him. Oh, that is so funny. Oh, I do love this human.
Yes, he has got such terribly bad luck because of us. We make him have bad luck all the time.
And the brother stood up and he looked behind him, and standing in the road and behind him were about 12 little wee characters. Now, these little characters, they had black hair, little red capes, little red tails, little red horns, and mischievous faces. And they came in all sorts of sizes, from the tiniest little one to small ones, sort of medium-sized ones. And, you know, there was heaps of them, about 12 of them, all standing in the road. And he looked at them and he said, what on earth are you? And one of them said, can he see us? And another imp said,
Aye, well, he's looking at us right enough. Maybe he can see us.
And another imp said,
oh my goodness, it's Halloween.
So, at Halloween, the veil between our world and the other world, the world of the ghosties and the ghoulies, and the lang-leggedy beasties and the things that go bump in the night, the veil is very thin, and it's then that we can see all these creepy creatures that are around. And of course he could see these wee guys, and he said, what are you? Who are you? And one of the imps, for that is what they were, said, oh, you can see us because it's Halloween. We are the imps of misfortune. The imps of misfortune, and what are they?
Well, we follow you around and we give you bad luck.
You give me bad luck? Yeah. You're the reason that everything I do just has bad luck associated. You're the reason I'm poor. You're the reason my family's hungry. Yeah. Well, why do you follow me around?
Oh, because we find you humans fascinating.
Why are we humans fascinating? Well, the look on your face when you hit your thumb with a hammer, we think it's hilarious. And they all started laughing. Well, can you stop doing it, please? Oh, no. You're our main source of entertainment. We're going to follow you until the day you die. Until the day I die? But what about my wife and children? They're starving. Can you please go away?
Oh, no. We're with you forever now.
And he turned around and he trudged down the path with a squelch, because remember, he had a hole in one of his boots and he'd stepped in that puddle and squelch, step. And they giggled and they followed him all the way. And they were still following him when he got to his wee house, and he saw that his wife and his children were fast asleep. And he had an idea, and he started to get some bits of wood together. And the imps all watched him curiously.
What's he doing? I would really like to watch him. Oh, he's picking up a hammer. Maybe we can make him hit his thumb with it again. That's always really funny. Or perhaps he could put a nail through his hand and it can go septic. It can go all poisonous.
They gathered round and they watched him, and yeah, he got splinters in his fingers, but he was putting something together out of the wood and with the nails and the hammer. And eventually they saw by the lamplight that he was making a coffin. Who's that for then? It's for me.
Why?
Well, if you're going to plague me until I die, I'm just going to lie down in the coffin, and then I'll die, and then you can go and bother someone else.
Oh, that's no fun, but
It'll be quite interesting watching you try. Okay then. Well, what do you think? He said.
well, it's the right shape for a coffin, certainly.
Yeah, well, it looks quite comfortable, doesn't it? And all the imps started slowly climbing into it and sort of testing it out to see if it was really comfortable. And they decided that yes, it was quite comfortable actually. And that they would lie there for a while, not allow him to get in. They were right pests, these imps. And then he said, well, I'm going to have to check can you all get out? I have to check and see that it's airtight to see that if there's any light gets in, that sort of thing.
Oh, we'll help. Just put the lid on. Yes, put the lid on and we will tell you if you have made a good coffin or not.
So he put the lid on.
Nah, this is a rubbish coffin. We can see chinks of light from the lantern all the way round.
Well, he said, I've not put the nails in yet, that's why.
Ah, right. On you go then, put a nail in.
So bang, 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 he hits in one nail.
Nah, we can still see light. You've made a really rubbish coffin.
Well, put another nail in then. Bang, bang, bang.
Oh, I have to say that's a bit better. Put some more in.
And he put more nails all the way round until the imp said, actually,
this is a very good coffin. I can't see any daylight. Guys?
yeah.
We're nailed into a coffin now, aren't we? Oh dear. He's tricked us.
He had indeed tricked the imps. Now they were all nailed into the coffin and they couldn't get out.
Well, it's just as well we're magical beings and don't need any food or anything like that.
And he took the coffin outside, and by the light of the moon, he started digging a hole in the scrogs. Out came his wife. She'd woken up with all this noise, and she said, what are you doing? He said, I'm changing our fortune. And he put in the coffin and he buried it up, and they went to bed. And the next morning, well, the luck changed immediately. You see, this hovel, it kind of backed onto down the hill, down to kind of where Garthdee Road is now. And along this road was coming a lady in her very fine horse and cart. She was sitting in the back, and what had happened was that the cart wheel had broken. And the brother was already up and about, the good brother, the young brother, and he saw the lady and he said, oh, that's terrible. And he stacked the cart up on some bricks and he took off the wheel and he mended it without getting any splinters or hitting his thumb. And he sent the lady on her way, and she said, I am so grateful to you. I'm just on the way to church to meet my fiancé, and if I'd been late it would have been terrible. Do come along to the church later and I'll thank you. Well, him and his wife and the children did go to the kirk later on that morning, because it was a Sunday, and they made it there, and here was the rich lady afterwards. And the rich lady's fiancé, well, he was so impressed at this young man that had helped fix his fiancé's cart that he gave them a great big bag of coins. And the great big bag of coins, well, the next day, it was enough to buy a huge bag of grain, which he could sow and plant outside. And you know what? Even though he was planting it on the scrogs, it grew. They spent the money on a cow, which gave excellent milk. And from that, the wife made cheese and butter, which she sold at market. And soon their fortunes were a-changing. In fact, almost a year had passed, and those children no longer went around in rags. They had brand new clothes. He had bought himself a new house. He'd moved away from that horrible bit of land. He was up somewhere quite nice on Auchinleck, thank you very much. And everything was going well for him. But of course, we've forgotten about that older brother, haven't we? And the older brother saw that his younger brother had had good luck now, and saw that the brother was maybe almost as rich as him, and he wasn't happy about this. So he sent his wife down. Hello, said his wife to the younger brother's wife. It's nice to see that you've got a nice house now. It's lovely. It's fantastic. Yes. So tell me, how did your luck change? You used to live in a wee hovel on my husband's land, and now you've got this braw place. Oh, said the younger brother's wife. Oh, yes, he said. Well, I don't know what happened, but it was at Halloween. My husband was out digging in the scrogs, and all of a sudden our luck changed. Oh, that's lovely. That's very nice. And I had a cup of tea, and Off went the older brother's wife back home, and she told her husband, well, he was digging in the scrogs. He was digging in the scrogs, and, well, said the older brother, I bet you he found money. I bet you he found money, and you know what? That land is mine, and therefore that money should be mine. I am going to go, and I am going to go and see if there's any more money there. So, it just so happened that that day was Halloween, when the veil between our world and the other world is thin. And you can see the ghosties and ghoulies and long-leggedy beasties and things that go bump in the night. And he went down to the scrogs and he started digging, and it wasn't long at all before his spade hit something solid, and he cleared all the muck from around it, and he found that it was a coffin. Oh, what if my brother murdered someone? I'll get him locked up. And he got the coffin up into his cart, took the cart all the way back to his own house, cleared the kitchen table, put the coffin up, and he started to crack it open. And when he cracked the lid of the coffin open and he lifted it up, in there were 12 little faces with big, bright, happy eyes, and they said, hello. We like you.
Yes, you set us free. We're going to be with you forever.
And so it was that the older brother was now plagued by the imps of misfortune, and very quickly he, who had once been rich and powerful, lost his money here and there, and his crops failed, and his animals grew skinny and bony. And soon he was so poor that it should have been him that was living in the hovel. But do you think that the younger brother, who now had good fortune, was going to let him suffer? No, he didn't. He took care of them to the rest of his life, and despite the fact that the imps of misfortune were there all the time, they got by together as a family. And you never know. Well, once those brothers had finally passed away, obviously the imps had to find someone else to bother, and I don't know. Do you think they stayed in the area? Do you think they're still in Garthdee? I think I know where they live now. I think they live with me.
Hello.
There you go. That's the story of the imps of misfortune. And if you're out guising tonight and you see some of these wee guys with their little red horns and their little capes and their little tails, just don't take them on in case they find you interesting and they follow you home saying,
No, we like you.
there you go. I hope you have a very good night guising, and I'll see you soon. Bye-bye.